Hello, beautiful people. I hope you all are well. So, you're playing Husband and Wifey Simulator, and you're a bit confused on some of the terminology that's thrown around. Well, you've come to the right place, as I'll do my best to teach you some of the slang that the community uses. As a quick thing, I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/isrenix, and if you think my content is worth it, I would greatly appreciate you pushing that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get some wrinkles in our Genshin brains. First off, we have Constellations. You may have heard this name throughout the community when people say they have a C1 Eula or a C6 Noelle. It means that you have gotten multiple copies of the same character. I'll go over how you can get copies of the same character in a little bit. Now, what exactly are Constellations? Constellations are sequential upgrades to characters, which are similar to their passive talents and increase the effectiveness of the character or add new capabilities to existing abilities. Each character has a total of 6 constellation levels, with the 3rd and 5th always being a 3-level increase to the elemental skill or elemental burst. Basically, what that means is that on your C3, your elemental skill is automatically increased by 3 levels, and on your C5, your elemental burst is increased by 3 levels as well. You're probably thinking, okay, cool, but how does that benefit me? As you can see, there are certain prerequisites in order to level up character talents, and the higher level you go, the more resources it takes. So getting an automatic boost can take you from level 6 straight to level 9, and the best part is that when you go to level up your talent that's already at level 9, it'll have the same resource requirements as if you were trying to upgrade to level 7. Pretty cool, right? Also, Constellations do more than just level up your talents. They mainly strengthen your character either by buffing or prolonging their burst, for example, or adding some additional beneficial modifiers. For example, Bennett's C1 Constellation no longer has an HP restriction, and you get an additional 20% of Bennett's base attack. Some constellations like this are totally worth it. So now you're thinking, well, how do I get copies of these characters? The main way is by wishing for characters, either through the event banner, which is currently on a 3-week rotation basis, or the standard banner, which is permanent. I'll go over all this in a different video, by the way, so don't feel confused about wishing and all that stuff. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to drop by the stream or our Discord, which the links are down below, where we have a pretty friendly community willing to answer any questions that you might have. The second way is to get them through Pieman's shop. Every month, 2 characters are rotated through, and currently you can only get 4-star characters. The currency for this is Star Glitter, which you can only get through wishing. So eventually, as you play the game, you will accrue some Star Glitter and then use them to purchase a character or a constellation if you already have the character. A third but rarer option is events. Sometimes there will be an event that gives out characters, either multiple options like in the Lantern Rite Festival we had in February of this year, or a specific character like Diona with an Energy Amplification event in April this year. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled if that's a character that you want. It's a great way to get one for free with a little bit of effort to put in. A quick thing to note is that characters start off with C0. When you get a copy of a character, that makes it C1, but in essence that was 2 times that you got that character. So when you eventually get C6, that means you ended up getting 7 copies of that character. So now we get to snapshotting. According to the wiki, the term snapshotting is used to describe the state where the damage/stats of a long-lasting skill is fixed to the stats of the character at the time the skill was cast. So I'm going to show you what this means and simplify it a bit. The most common example we're going to use is Bennett's Burst. In this example, Ayaka's Burst will be buffed for its whole duration when cast inside Bennett's Burst, even if you walk outside the field after it was cast. Or Xiangling's Pyronado attack as well. But keep in mind that not all talents and abilities can be snapshot. Certain dynamic abilities, such as Jingxiu's Rain Swords, which is Burst, will not snapshot, meaning that if you activate the abilities while you're in Bennett's Fantastic Voyage and then move out, the swords will no longer be buffed. So now we get to crowning. Crowning is when you finally commit and decide that a lucky husband or waifu deserves the very best. What this essentially boils down to is that you take a crown of insight, which I'll go over shortly, and use it on your character to take their talent level from 9 to 10. Disregarding the boost that you get from Constellations real quick, the only way you can get a talent from level 9 to 10 is using these Crown of Insights. Currently, 4 Crown of Insights are permanently obtainable. One is available through the Frostbearing tree when you get it to level 11, and that is located in Dragonspine. And the other 3 are from the Sacred Sakura Favor, which is in Inazuma, when you get it to level 5, 15, and 25 respectively. Most of the time, however, you'll be able to get a crown through events in the game. So fret not, eventually you'll have enough to then triple crown a character. What this essentially means is that you use 3 crowns to level up all 3 talents to level 10 for a certain character. This is reserved for one of your favorite characters. However, fret not once again, as there will be more crowns available through future events. So now we get to a meatier part of the game. I'm going to be going over the 3 main categories of roles, but there are still certain others such as burst support, etc., but we don't need to worry about those for the sake of this video. The 3 that I mentioned down below will be more than enough to give you an understanding without going down to the very minute details. Main DPS. This is pretty self-explanatory, as this is going to be your character that stays on the field the longest, and the one that you will be using to fill in the gaps with either their normal or charged attacks when the rest of your team's abilities are on cooldown. These are also sometimes referred to as selfish DPS, as they need to be on the field to do more damage. Sub DPS. These characters are going to be your backup or your secondary source of damage when you swap your main DPS out. For example, in this clip I'll be able to use Xingqiu's burst, and he's an excellent sub DPS because his burst stays on any character no matter which one you switch to. And if I pair it with my Yoimiya, I'll be able to proc an elemental reaction called Vaporize, which deals a ton more damage, and is something that I'll go over later. Remember, in this game elemental reactions deal a ton more damage than just hitting an enemy with irregular attacks. Side note, unless you're speccing a character for physical damage, which is a whole other subset that you can ask me about in the comments or on our Discord, and which I'll be happy to answer. Nuke. These guys have access to the US's arsenal and can immediately launch. Okay, but for real, these characters are going to be the ones that you primarily use to do a ton of damage all at once. For example, my Zhongli is used for shielding, which he is amazing at, but I also use him to switch to him for his burst, which can deal about 60k plus for me all at once. These are powerful units that only need to be on the field for their burst or ultimate capability. Now we get into elemental reactions. I won't go into every single elemental reaction here, but just give you a brief overview of the more commonly used ones, or the ones that you might hear a bit more. Remember how I said that Genshin Impact is all about elemental reactions? I would highly advise reading up on most of them, and like I mentioned, if you have any questions about them, please feel free to come by our community and we'll help you out. So one of the more common examples you'll probably hear about is Vaporize or a Vape comp. This elemental reaction is caused by Hydro plus Pyro. Unlike most other elemental reactions, this reaction will increase the damage of the Hydro or Pyro attack that triggers the reaction. So, if you inflict Pyro on a character that already has Hydro on them, the multiplier will be 1.5. If you deal Hydro damage on an enemy that has Pyro on them, the damage multiplier is 2 times. Do note, however, that there are more stronger Pyro characters in the game currently, so it's much easier to have a main DPS Pyro character that can efficiently do Vaporize. Another comp you'll probably come across is Permafreeze. This one's a bit easier, but it basically relies on Cryo plus Hydro. The main point of this comp is, well, just keep the enemies frozen and just whack them till they're dead. It's a very fun comp to play because if executed properly, you don't even have to worry about taking too much damage, as most of the time the enemies will just be frozen. Well guys, that about wraps up the video. If there are any mistakes I've made in the making of this video, I do apologize. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any suggestions, please feel free to submit them down below. Just like in my stream, I do make sure to read every message. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.